Hey friends, today I want to try to convince you that you need to add curry paste to your pantry staples. Some of the pastes are very inexpensive and it's so easy to use, and they have such a delightful flavor that you can throw it together with some rice and vegetables and a protein, and you've got a super easy weeknight meal. Today I'm going to be featuring two of these. I've got this green one and this yellow. The yellow one is my favorite and it's super affordable. But first I'm going to start out by showing you what I'm going to do with the green one. I'll be using a can of coconut milk, and it's the full heavy cream. It's not reduced fat. So today I'm going to make green lentil curry with sweet potato and kale. I usually like to make a curry that I put over rice, but today I thought it would be nice to make a soup, and I'll take this in my lunch today. And I think I'll just make about 2 servings. That way I have one for today and one for tomorrow. And I just kind of looked around and to see what I thought would be good in this. And I, of course, had some ginger and garlic. So I'm going to go ahead and add those in. But there is garlic already in the paste, so don't feel like you need to add that extra. It's just I have a lot of extra in my house. And then I'm going to be using some onion, some carrot, and then I've got this kale that I always seem to have on hand. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some of that. You can also use spinach if you'd rather. If you're going to use spinach though, you're going to add that in at the very end. And actually, you could use any kind of greens in this, whether it be collard greens, Swiss chard. And the ingredients that are in this paste are green chili pepper, garlic, lemongrass, spices, salt, shallot, and lime peel. So I'm not sure what other kind of spices are in there. I hate it when they just put spices because then you're not able to figure out what's in there. But like I said, it already has the garlic and the shallot, which is, of course, a kind of onion. But like I said, these are ingredients that I have, and I actually do need to use this onion. This was in my pantry, and sitting right next to it was one that had sprouted. I should have showed you guys. It was kind of crazy. I don't know. One of them actually sprouted, and then this one hadn't. So I thought I better use it up. And then for the kale, I'm just going to cut this into bite-sized pieces. I think I told you guys I've been picking this up at Trader Joe's. It's very affordable. And then it just goes in so many of my meals. And then for the carrots, I'm just going to cut these into bite-sized pieces. I could just omit these and just have the sweet potato and the lentils and the kale. I think that that would be fine. But I do have a lot of carrots right now. You can use a regular white potato here, but I wanted to use a sweet potato, and I realized that I had one that had a lighter flesh, and then I had one with the orange flesh, and this is actually the one that I want to use. They say that the purple sweet potatoes are the most nutritious and have the most antioxidants, but I don't see those too much in the stores. I chopped up 2 cloves of garlic and a 1-inch piece of ginger, and then I'm just getting everything ready here on my board, and I'm going to set this next to the stove so that when I'm making this, I can just add in the ingredients as I go. And for this first recipe, I'm just using the same technique that I use to make all of my favorite soups. I'm starting with the ginger and garlic. I think most Thai curry pastes do include garlic and ginger, but most recipes will also have you add some extra in. However, if you don't have any, feel free to just use the paste. And I don't always add onions into my soup, but I did have this and I do need to use this. So it's really about using whatever's in your fridge or pantry. And then I'm just going to saute these for a minute until they're translucent. And I have my water next to my pan and ready to go. So for the Thai green curry paste, I think I'm going to use about 1/4 of a cup. And this is really my main seasoning base for this soup. But again, the vegetables and the garlic and the ginger also give it a lot of flavor. So I think it's just going to combine together to create a wonderful flavor, because I know I already like this soup without the paste. So this is just going to be additional flavor layered on top of that. And when I was making this, I was wondering if Thai people actually make their own curry paste. And as far as I can tell, most people do not. Although you can make your own, but it just is not as feasible with the types of ingredients. And then of course, some of those ingredients are kind of hard for us to get here. Like lemongrass, which I know I've seen at H Mart. Lemongrass has a bright citrusy and slightly herbal flavor, often described as a combination of lemon and mint. It has a hint of ginger flavor, and it's frequently used in the making of tea. Another ingredient that is usually found in Thai curry paste is galangal, and it's very similar to a ginger root. However, the flavor is more citrusy and earthy tasting. It's described as having hints of mustard and pepper, and there are several varieties of this, and they each have slightly different flavors. And then I'm adding some salt to taste along with my sweet potatoes. And I waited a few minutes before I added in the carrots, just because I don't like to have my carrots be too mushy. And it does look like I'm going to need to add some more water into this. And I let that cook for a couple minutes, and then I tasted the flavor on this just to see if it's where my soup normally is, and it was. So I thought it was time now to go ahead and add in the coconut milk. And again, this is a full fat. You can use whatever you want. I do recommend using full fat at least the first time that you try a coconut milk, just so you can tell the difference in what it tastes like. It is very creamy, and this is so luxurious tasting. It has just elevated my soup so much just by adding those 2 extra ingredients. And I'm going to get at least 2 or 3 meals out of this. And if I worked in a restaurant, then I would drizzle just a small amount of oil over the top and then garnish it with something green. And I had this parsley in my fridge that I've had forever. But of course, those are optional plating techniques. And for my first bite, I'm going for a piece of this sweet potato. I love the vibrant colors of this soup. And I have to say, this might just be my new favorite sweet potato recipe. There is something so wonderful about how all of these flavors are combining. And I wanted to show you, I used about half of the can in this. It was just enough to give it a velvety texture. The cream does mitigate the spiciness level of that Thai curry, which is, of course, why it's used with the curry paste. But yeah, this, you guys, this is phenomenal. I love this dish, and I'm going to be so excited and looking forward to having this in my lunch. I don't have anything else for my lunch today, but I think all of the fat in this is going to help me to stay full for the entire day. For my next dish, I'm making a traditional Thai curry. This is a super easy recipe, and this is very affordable. They haven't always sold this May ploy curry paste at Walmart, but now they do. And this big container is only $4. It's much more affordable than the little containers of the Thai Kitchen curry paste. And then all you need is some rice, some coconut milk, some potatoes, onions, and carrots. In the past, when I've made this, I typically just boil my potatoes in some salted water with the onions and the carrots, just throw in the curry paste and the milk, and then I'm done. But this time I'm going to go by the package instructions. And for anyone that hasn't tried curry before, it's better if you just think of this like a gravy. That's how I think of curry, is like the most delicious gravy ever. And as far as potatoes go, I think this is my very favorite way to eat potatoes, is in this curry sauce. It is just so delicious. And as you can see, you get a lot of curry paste in this Mayploy one. And if you compare the cost per ounce, the Mayploy option is only 30 cents per ounce, and the Thai Kitchen one is over $1 per ounce. So I do love the value of the Mayploy, much better. You can get lots of meals out of that. And meanwhile, I do have my rice going in my rice cooker so that that'll be finished by the time my curry is done. And I'm not adding any additional spices to this at all. And unfortunately, my burner stopped working. I don't know what's going on there, but I did have to switch over to this burner. And this is quite the spice mix. Here are all of the ingredients: garlic, lemongrass, salt, shallot, galangal, dried white chili, coriander seed, kaffir lime peel, curry powder, cumin, cinnamon, turmeric, cardamom, and nutmeg. That is a lot of spices. So definitely taking a shortcut with the curry paste. And then I'm going to make sure to get as much of this as I can get out of here. And the yellow curry has always been my favorite. And actually, now that I just made that soup, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna have to love all of these and probably just want to have the different varieties when I'm in a different mood. This dish doesn't get much easier than this though. Just throwing the paste in there with the vegetables and the coconut milk, and then serving this with some rice. I will say that curry pastes are spicy, and that is mitigated by the coconut milk. It's also mitigated when you eat it along with some rice. However, if you need to make it even milder, you can also just add more coconut milk. Okay, so I'm adding some protein in, and I've got tofu, but you can use chicken, pork, whatever you want, just cut into bite-sized pieces. And I would cook them before you add them to the curry, but I decided that I wanted mine kind of crispy, so I put my tofu with some cornstarch and then added that to the air fryer. Normally I like it soft. I've had it soft so frequently lately that I was just in the mood for something different, and I did decide that I needed a little bit more coconut milk, and fortunately I had this can of light coconut milk in my pantry, so I added some more of that in here. Now if you have to add so much coconut milk that you lose the beautiful color of the dish, you can always add in some turmeric to brighten up the color. This is a great recipe to make when potatoes are on sale. Like if you get a big 10-pound bag of potatoes, you can make so many meals out of this. And then you're supposed to add about 2 teaspoons of sugar. I added, I think, 1, and then I tasted it, but you can always add to your liking. And in traditional Thai cooking, palm sugar is used. Palm sugar is made by boiling the sap that is extracted from palm flowers until it thickens and caramelizes and eventually becomes a solid sugar. And sometimes you'll find it pressed into these different kinds of shapes. I do believe it has a slightly different taste than regular white sugar. Probably our brown sugar would be more similar to the flavor, where it has a little bit of caramelization. It was actually getting late when I made this meal, so I didn't want to eat too much because it was already after 7. So I don't really like to eat too much before bed, but it was so tasty. And this is one of my all-time favorite meals, actually. There's nothing more delightful than these potatoes. I just love potatoes with the yellow curry. And then anything you put in here is good. Sometimes I like it with green peppers. Sometimes I'll add in red peppers. Any kind of vegetable usually works here, but in the restaurants, this is typically what you see in it is the potatoes, the carrots, and the onions. And they don't ever add any kind of greens on top that I recall. It's been a while since I've been in a Thai restaurant, but then you just kind of use the curry and then pour it over the rice and then eat it like that. But I'm sure most of you have already had curry. Just kind of explain that for anyone that hasn't had it before. I was thinking of all of the different ways that we could incorporate this curry gravy into new kinds of meals. And I'm sure if you watch the channel, your mind is already thinking of many of those ways. You could just make a baked potato with some vegetables and then pour that curry gravy all over the top of it. I think that would be delicious. So many different ways to use this. You could just have some bread and pour the curry over the top of that along with the vegetables, just like we do with regular gravy. And I love that you can use this with all different kinds of proteins, including shrimp. So it's just a good staple, I think, to have in your pantry. And it is very delicious and it's affordable. Anyway, guys, I am up against the clock again this week, but I did want to thank you so much, and thank you to my new channel subscribers and new Patreon supporters. I appreciate you all so very, very much. Thanks for watching, friends. I'll see you next week.
Morning has broken, my windows are open.